All right. Now that we've gotten into the mood, what's going on, fellas? Love and abundance. This is Dr. Varun Gandhi, and thank you so much for everybody who's joined in today. I wanted to play that song. This is the song that I've been jamming out to lately, and it's a well done remixed version. Not remixed, but it's a live version of this song. You can find it on YouTube. It's just really well made. They've merged two different songs and sung it together into one, and it's just really well done. So check it out. It's on T Series. You can find it on YouTube. Tu Jo Mila and Rapta mix, and you'll find it. So search for that. Thank you, man. Got so many people joining in. So many supporters today. That's amazing. So what I wanted to talk to you. So this song was said Tu Jo Mila, like when I met you, right? And that's exactly how it started for me. When I met someone. So in 2010, I had this amazing, I met someone, an amazing person. 2010 to 2012, we were dating, and this was like, my mind was set that I was going to marry this person, right? No, 2012 comes around, and this is when there was a huge change in the energy field on Earth, and a lot of people in 2012 went through something. Some sort of pain, some sort of suffering, and that's what caused their journey, the spiritual journey, to start. And that's what happened for me. So 2012, we break up, and I move out to Idaho. And at this point, my mind was just swirling with thoughts. Like, I would wake up every morning. I'd dream every night that I was, with this amazing person, and that was my dream, that I was still together, and when I'd wake up, reality was something totally different. And so I was totally messed up in my mind. Like, what is going on? My thoughts were saying one thing, but reality says something else. And they weren't syncing, and that caused so much pain and so much suffering for me, right? So that's where it started. That's where my journey started. And at one point, about 8 months of this, I'd wake up every morning crying. Every morning I'd wake up crying, like tears in my eyes, like what's going on in my life? Something is, missing this person. And this was fresh. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months right after that relationship. And this went on for a good 6 to 8 months. And after that I realized, and this is when now I'd moved to Idaho, and something hit me one day. I was reading Deepak Chopra's book, The Book of Secrets. And it was very deep. I still don't understand parts of it. And back then when I was first starting, it didn't make any sense to me. But I was reading through it, and it was talking about these things called thoughts. That we have to pay attention to our thoughts. And so I thought, okay, let me try this. This was before I started meditation. This is my pre-meditation days. And I would just sit there with myself and watch the way I was thinking, like what were the thoughts in my mind. And at that point this was like 8 months, a year out of that relationship, so I was still thinking about that relationship. That's how messed up I was, right? That's how much suffering I'd gone through, a whole year of it, and I was still thinking about it. And so I sat with myself like, what are those thoughts? What am I thinking about? Why am I thinking that way, right? I went down to the root of it. When I first started out, it was just me watching. And something would come up. A thought would come up. Like I wanted to take some sort of action. I wanted to say something. I wanted to do something. And then I think to myself, but why did that come up? Why that? Why not right now? What happened for to cause that thought to come up? Was it an external stimuli? Right? So I paid attention to everything that was going on in my mind. There were thoughts of, like I was jealous. During that relationship, I was really jealous. And so I'd sit down and think about that. Why? I made my life miserable. Along with that, I made her life miserable. For part of it, we were long distance. And during that time, she was really lonely because she had just moved to a new place, a new city. And during that time, she didn't have any friends. And she was trying to make friends. But the jealous one, would stop her from going out anywhere because I couldn't see her hanging out with anyone else. I was possessive, so I didn't want her to make new friends. So I would hold her back. Now, 2 years later, I was sitting down with myself and thinking about all these things. Like, why did I do that? What was the reason behind it? Why was I jealous? Why was I so possessive and why did I have her on a leash? Why did I do that? Right? I knew it was wrong now, at that point, like 2 years later. But there was something inside of me that while I was in that relationship caused me to act like that, caused me to think like that. And now I sat down with myself and I was analyzing. Now, some people write journals at this point. You could write down your thoughts and write it down, but I was just doing it mentally. Just sitting with myself. And anytime I had some free time, I would just sit with myself. Have no distractions, nothing around me. Just watch, okay? Or I would go back in time and think about, okay, why was I like that a year ago with her in that relationship, right? And when I found the answer, it was my insecurity. It was all me. It was all me. The solution was in me. The problem was in me. And that's where I had to go in to solve the problem. So it was my thoughts. When I was thinking certain things, I realized that those things would come out to be true just because I thought it. So I realized there was something going on over there that I need to, look into this, dive deeper into these concepts. And that's when I started going deep into Neville Goddard, deep into, all these spiritual, like Paramahansa Yogananda talks about thought. And that's when I started paying attention and understanding what are these thoughts. And I realized that even this cell phone, the iPhone that I'm using right now to go Facebook Live, that is a result of thought. Someone sat down and thought about this device in their mind. They first had it in their mind, how they were going to lay it out, how it was going to look, what features it's going to have. Someone wrote it down first before it was ever created. But even before they wrote it down, they had to think about it. That's how powerful thought is. What you think about, and then you start writing down, you start designing, drawing on paper, and finally you take it to manufacturing, and now you have an iPhone. It started in the mind. So when I paid attention to what started in my mind, when I was literally going deep, deep, deep down, beyond the problem, beyond the initial problem, what we think is the initial problem, I was jealous. But it wasn't that jealousy. That wasn't the problem. There was something that was at the root of that issue. And that's where we have to go if you want to solve any problems. Go to the root. Where did that come from? And most times, all of these patterns come from our childhood. From the first 7 years of our life. That's when we are the most suggestive. That's when we observe as a kid and just child and pick up everything that's around us. So let's say you're around your parents the most and they behave a certain way. As child, we observe those behaviors, those actions that they take. Because words don't mean much to us at that point. We're only 5, 6, 7. We're not understanding what they're saying. But what we have developed, we have well-developed observational skills. We're like sponges. We just absorb stuff. So we watch, see people behave a certain way, and we absorb it. And because of that, that's where our in a way, our karma starts. When we absorb these patterns. And when we become those patterns, right? So that's where the issue for me was way back then, when I was observing people around me, how they were behaving, how they were this male-dominated, right? It was a male-dominated society. Men's words meant more than women's words. The man in the relationship could tell their woman how to be, and the woman would have to change. That's not the case. And that was my world. I was watching that, and that's what I would observe, and that's what I behaved like when I became older. So the jealousy came from how I was insecure about my woman, and I had to keep her in line and keep her in check and have a short leash and all these things that I'd learned from when I was a child. And we have this in our society. We have this every day playing out in our societies. We don't realize it because for some of us it may be the normal now. That's just how people are. And that's how they've always been. And I've always seen them be that way. And that's how I'm going to be too. So when I sat down and realized that I was this asshole who had treated this lovely person in the wrong way, when I realized that I had to make that change, otherwise I would have brought that same ish in my next relationship, and the next relationship, and the relationship after that, I had to change. And the way I changed was by observing my thought. Why? And then I would ask the question, why? I would observe it. It came up, it originated for a particular reason. Why? What is that reason? When I went down to the root of it, I realized all the issues. Right? Paramahansa Yogananda says, thought is everything. Everything starts from a thought. The sculptor, when he goes to sculpt a statue, he starts off with a stone, a big piece of stone, and a whole bunch of thoughts. I'm going to sculpt it this way. I'm going to take this part out. I'm going to do this over here. I'm going to do this over here. It started out in the mind, and then his hand went out and created that motion and chipped away at the rock until the statue was there. Originated with thought. The iPhone originated with thought. So, if you want to change your life, pay attention. Pay attention to your thoughts. Why do you think that way? And I actually equate our thoughts to stories because we're literally creating stories about our life. What do I mean by stories? Okay. Give you an example. Let's say you're at a party. This is a work party. And there's alcohol, people having fun, there's music and loud music, and there's dim lighting and you can't see really. And now you run into someone. Like literally your body runs into someone, or someone runs into you, another coworker runs into you, you're holding a drink, and it spills the drink onto your shirt. Now in your mind, you have had beef with this coworker in the past. So in your mind, you create a story, oh, this coworker did it purposely. She wanted to knock that drink on my shirt so I look bad. Because you've had a personal history with this person. Where in fact it was dark. This person couldn't see, accidentally bumped into you. Oh, my bad, my fault. But you start brewing the story, create the story in your mind. This person said sorry. You said, oh, okay, thank you, it's okay, on the face. But inside, there's something going on. The story machine started, it's churning. Oh, this person did this bit. And then you see patterns of how that person consistently is treating you, mistreating you. Even though they don't mean to, but you're just observing that because that's what you have in your mind. The story that you created in your mind, now that's what you're paying attention to in your reality. All right, let's talk about politics, right? It's the same thing that happens in politics. Let's say Donald Trump or any other politician in this world. The reason a person supports Donald Trump, no matter what Donald Trump does, I wholeheartedly support this person. It's because they've created a story in their mind about how this person does such and such for me, how this person means something to me. And because of that story, no matter what DJT does in real life, you will still look at just the good in what that person is doing. Because that's the story in your mind. That's how we could blindly support a politician. Blindly. We don't pay attention to the facts. I don't care what the other side feels. I know in my mind that this person's doing the right thing because of all the stories that I've created in my mind. But I'll tell you what, Facebook, when you scroll on Facebook, it mimics what goes on in your mind. Why? because you have the option to like certain things. You have the option to love certain things. So you like and love the things that you like and love, right? So now the things that start showing up on your window are the things that you like and love. So this is how your thought is being manipulated by Facebook, because you're only being shown a certain side. If you're a Democrat, you'll only be shown Democratic news. You won't see Republican news. I've never watched Fox News in my life. But then again, now I don't watch any news anymore. Right? So you're being brainwashed in a way. Your thoughts you're being forced to think a certain way because of what you see, what you read, what you scroll on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Right? So pay attention to your thought. Where do your thoughts lie? What are you focusing on at every moment of your life? Because what you focus on the most, that's what happens. That's what becomes a reality. If you're focusing on positivity becomes a reality for you. And I'm not saying that negative situations won't come your way. But what I'm saying is you're focusing on the positive within that negative. Yeah, you could complain, you could moan, you could bitch, you could call up everyone on your phone and say the same thing to them about how such and such did such and such to you. Or you could say, oh, this such and such did something to me, but now I know how this person is towards me and I won't trust that person anymore. I won't allow that person to have that sort of effect onto me. Right? What else do we have stories about? This is an important point I'm about to make, so pay attention. Relationships. The relationships we have with people are a bunch of stories that we have created in our minds based on our past experiences with that person. Meaning, the relationship you have with your parents, with your father, or with your mother is a story that's going on in your mind based on all of your past with that person. But that story, you could change it at any time. You could rewrite it at any time. If you want to see the person in a different way, you could rewrite that story anytime. The way you see someone else reflects what's going on inside of you. I'm going to go back to the positive, negative. The way you see life, if you see the positive in life, that reflects the positivity in you. If you consistently see the negative in every situation, and start to complain and moan and bitch and talk on Facebook and call up people and, spread that vibration everywhere. And that's all you're going to see in your life. You'll never see the positive. Even if someone gifts you a fucking car, you will talk about how the tire is punctured. You will talk about how the engine is messed up. You will talk about how it doesn't look good. The color is not right. The interior color is not right. That's what you're going to focus on. But you got a fucking gift as a car. Be happy. Right? So where are you focused? Where are you paying attention to? That is what's going to change your life. Pay attention to where your attention goes. And when it's not going in the direction you want it to go, divert it to where you want it to go. It's like a train. It's going to go no matter what. You just have to direct it in the right direction. Back to the relationships. Pay attention to how you think about people in your life. The closest relationships, that's where you have to start. The closest relationships. Because we're stuck in what we think the other person wants. We're put ourselves in a cage by what we think the other person wants. Meaning, if you're in a relationship with someone, with a wife, you have a wife for a long time. Now you have so much experience with this person. You think this person wants something. Or you think this person doesn't want something. Doesn't like something. Because in the past, maybe one time, 5 years ago, they said they didn't like it. And so because of that, now you've created a story in your mind that this person doesn't like it. So you're going to behave accordingly as if this person doesn't like it anymore, even though that was 5 years ago. So we have to constantly update our stories about our relationships, the closest ones. And a lot of people in our, a lot of my friends, we have stories about our parents. We have stories about how they limit us because of something that happened in the past. We have to rewrite those stories because those are limitations that we have placed on ourselves, by ourselves. And we have the power to remove those limitations. And that's what this does, is when you pay attention to how you think, all of those limitations, the limiting thoughts, the things that hold you back, your life, your success, your family, your relationships, the things that hold you back are within, are inside of you. And if you just sit down with yourself, pay attention to that, that's when your life can change for the better. So if you guys have any questions, hit me up. I have a lot of experience with this. Years and years. This is at least 5 years in the making. Hit me up. Text me, call me, no matter what. I'm always there for you. This is what I do. This is what I'm here for. And this is what I love doing. So if you have any questions, feel free, please. All right. The last thing before I go. Our affirmation Bible. This is my first book, y'all. Our first book. Sorry, not just mine. Our first book. And the way this works is it's a game, right? The affirmation Bible is a game. Affirmation Bible has got 20 pages, and each page has got a chapter. 20 chapters, and each chapter has got 20 affirmations. So what we did is we have this 20-sided dice, right? You roll it once for your chapter number. So I'm going to roll it. You get 16. So I go to chapter 16. Roll it again for the second number. Number 2. So I got 16, 2. So chapter 16, line number 2. This is what it says. This is an affirmation for everybody. I believe in the power of my presence to get me through hard times. I'll repeat that. I believe in the power of my presence to get me through hard times. I believe in the power of my presence to get me through hard times. Presence is such an important word. Presence is what you think about yourself. That's how you present yourself. And that's how your presence is felt. When you show up in situations, when you show up amongst your friends, how are you showing up? That presence is created when you sit with yourself. That's how I created my presence. When I sat with myself, imagined myself to be a certain way. And when the opportunity presented itself to act that way, I did it. Presence. Okay, so I believe that that my presence will get me through hard times. That's the affirmation for the day. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. If you want the affirmation Bible, hit me up and I'll point you in the right direction. All right, guys, that's all from me. Love and abundance. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's always a pleasure speaking with everybody, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope this changes your life just like it has changed mine. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Let's wave.